Previously on Yu-Gi-Oh!
This individual possesses an ancient power stronger than any I've seen. And his name is Darts.
Who's Darts?
Who cares, Yugi?
Well, it's certainly been a long journey. I haven't been keeping track of them like the Pokemon video, but we're nearing 200 episodes. We're on episode 185 right now. It's been quite a long anime, but we're nearing the end now because we're now here at the final arc of Yu-Gi-Oh! Huh. According to this blank piece of paper, I'm incorrect. There's another filler arc. Well, this one's short, so let's try to get through it as quickly as possible. So after stopping Leviathan, the cheerleaders are still in America. Well, more stuck in America, because they didn't get round-trip tickets back to Japan. And for some reason, they can't ask Pegasus or Professor Hawkins to just, get them some plane tickets. I feel like that'd be pretty easy. Obviously, Rebecca's fine with Yugi staying here forever. Oh, have I mentioned Rebecca has a thing for Yugi? Again, that's just so inconsequential to everything going on, I forgot about it. But yeah, our protagonists are stuck here and need to find a way to get back to Japan. Otherwise, they'll have to play the TCG and not the OCG. That's when suddenly Mokuba shows up, who has a new voice actor, by the way, but it's so similar, and I don't care about Mokuba, and he's barely in the rest of this, so moving on. He's here because Kaibaland has opened up, the theme park Kaiba and Mokuba have been talking about for the past few seasons. But Kaiba Corp's reputation is kind of shot, because a lot of people think that all those monsters rampaging from the Awaken the Dragons arc were due to Kaiba Corp hologram technology. So to distract everyone from that, they are holding a dueling tournament to celebrate the opening of Kaibaland. And Mokuba is here to invite Yugi, because what better way to hype up their dueling tournament than having the King of Games attend? In exchange, Kaiba will pay for everyone's flight back home. The cheerleaders with no other option agree, and while they only wanted Yugi, Joey and Rebecca enter the tourney as well, and Kaiba is not entering, surprisingly, as he's too busy overseeing the opening of the park. When checking out some old dueling machine, Yugi sees a kid get bullied because he has a terrible deck. And they're right, because his deck is all normal monsters. Yeah, you suck, kid. But Yugi gives him a card that's pretty broken for it, Heart of the Underdog. Suddenly, the dueling AI that's a part of this big dueling machine goes berserk and traps everyone inside. The only way out is a duel, and through contrivance, Yugi is forced to use that Scrub Kid's tier 50 deck. And of course he wins, it's Yugi, part of the cards. Come on. But seems like someone's out to sabotage the opening of Kaibaland. I don't care. Tournament begins with all these assholes, I'm not going to describe any of them. The only two of note are Leon, a kid the cheerleaders befriended last episode, and some weird German man named Siegfried von Schroeder. All the German fans are going to dunk on me for my pronunciation. Besides that, we got the first matches, Leon versus some guy who cares, and Joey versus a mysterious old man. Who could it be? Okay, kind of a funny joke, at least I thought it was funny, is that despite disguising himself, every character immediately knows that that's Granddad. Except Joey, because, he's an idiot. Granddad's deck is kind of cool too, revolving around this ancient city card, as he tries to push Joey to his limits. Because I definitely know I didn't talk about this, but Granddad taught Joey all he knows about dueling. They had a whole montage and everything, I want to say around episode 2?
First I'll play a magic card known as Pot of Greed, so I draw 2 cards.
Joseph wins, proving he surpassed the master, and he makes it to the next round. Then it's Rebecca versus Vivian. Neither of these people are important. Rebecca wins. The important thing is that we see Siegfried duel this guy.
Doing here?
Rex and Weevil are back again? Are these characters that popular? I swear to God, if one of you leaves a comment being like, I actually like Rex and Weevil, they're one of my favorite characters, you're actually lying. No one says that. So Beavis and Butthead are back, and they stole the identity of this guy to try to enter the tournament. Mokuba's about to call security, but Siegfried insists on fighting them 1-on-2 and using his Valkyrie deck, which is actually a deck I like. Seriously, I've played this deck before, it's kind of sick. This is meant to be one of those duels to show the strength of this new character, because he beats both Rex and Weevil in one turn. I would be impressed if Rex and Weevil were relevant. Kai was more interested though, because seeing this duel, he gets a bit suspicious. Oh yeah, despite saying he's not participating in the tournament, Kaiba showed up, because after the AI malfunction, he now realizes someone is trying to sabotage the tournament. He's also experiencing deja vu, because he thinks he's seen this Siegfried before. No time for that, because we got the next matchup. It's Joey versus Siegfried. And despite Joey trying his luck cards like usual, he loses to the future meta of Yu-Gi-Oh! Archetypes.
I play Pot of Greed. You know what that means, don't you? I can draw 2 additional cards from my deck.
During the duel though, Kaiba realizes, wait, He's heard that bad German accent before. He has met Siegfried when he was a kid, and Siegfried used his savant techno skills to sabotage some Kaiba Corp thing, so now he realizes he must be the one fucking with everything. Next is Rebecca versus Leon, who is all sad and gets trounced because the cheerleaders don't show up to support her.
I activate my Pot of Greed magic card. Now I can draw 2 more cards from my deck.
That's because Vivian, remember her, I didn't talk about her, you remember, kidnapped Granddad by luring him in for sexy time, so she can get Yugi alone, as she is a very vain person and wants to date the King of Games to boost her own reputation. So Yugi duels her to save Granddad, even transforming. Yugi, she's some chick, not 1,000-year-old darkness. I don't think you need ancient Egyptian magic to help you. I was right, he easily defeats her.
Second, I activate Pot of Greed, which lets me draw 2 more cards from my deck.
Now, I realize I'm not explaining this arc very well. We're also almost done it, by the way. That's because I don't care. None of this matters, like, at all. So, fuck it. I do realize I haven't really said why Yugi is here. If you haven't noticed, he's not dueling in the tournament. That's because Mokuba brought him here because he's a prize. Winning the tournament, you get a chance to duel the King of Games, which Rebecca won't have because Leon manages to get the dub. Meaning the finals will be Siegfried versus Leon. It's time for the finals, but Kaiba interrupts, saying he remembers Siegfried. Okay, I'm sorry. I can't. Look, there's like 5 episodes left of this, and I really don't care about this part of the anime. It's not interesting. It's just a boring tournament with no real stakes. The only thing is that Kaiba Corp's in danger, but I don't care about Kaiba Corp. And I swear to God, the animation in the show is getting worse by the episode. Some of this stuff looks so jank. If this wasn't made in the early 2000s, I would swear this was made by AI. I literally just wrote shit animation in my notes. I'm just reading that. I forgot I wrote that. The only interesting thing about this part, besides this,
First, I activate my Pot of Greed magic card. That lets me draw 2 more cards.
is that, fun fact for you, in this duel, Kaiba summons Chaos Emperor Dragon, which, if you didn't know, is one of the first banned cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it was so broken. It's kind of a neat factoid.
I activate a magic card, Pot of Greed. That lets me draw 2 cards from my deck.
But yeah, this arc, it's boring. There's no stakes. The duels are boring. I don't care about it, so I want to get this over with. I'm not going to explain Siegfried's backstory. He's from a rival company. He hates Kaiba. He's here to sabotage the tournament. So Kaiba schools him in a duel, disqualifying him, making Leon the winner by default. So now he goes to fight Yugi. But oh no, it turns out Leon is actually Siegfried's little brother? What a twist! And Siegfried says Kaiba finding out about all this was all according to Keikaku. As now Leon, who wants nothing more than approval from his family, uses the actual most broken anime card, so far anyway, the Golden Castle of Stromberg. Like the Seal of Orichalcos, I'm not going to describe all the things it does, because it just does way too much. It's basically set up to be the most invincible card ever. It also has a computer virus that starts messing with Kaiba Corp's computers. It literally does it all.
I'll start with this. The magic card Pot of Greed. This allows me to draw 2 more cards from my deck.
I do think Yugi beats it in a pretty interesting way. Since he can't destroy it using card effects of any kind, he uses its own effect against it, saying that your opponent has to mill half their deck as the cost for the card to stay on the field. And Yugi manipulates it so he only has 1 card left in his deck, so he technically can't deposit half of his deck. So without the maintenance costs, the card is destroyed. See, that's what I want from these duels, cool strategies like that to beat some broken-ass made-up card. Not just Pot of Greeds, whatever that does.
And thanks to Pot of Greed, I can draw 2 cards.
Yeah, less of that and more strategies based on how poorly worded Yu-Gi-Oh cards are. That's my jam. So the day is saved. Kaiba keeps his company, the gang go home. Oh, Mai's here. Why would you remind me about how much you fucked her? Duke and Rebecca stay in America, and just another big ol' waste of my time, this was. You know, I'm not completely against filler arcs, by the way. I realize this and other videos I've made may make you think otherwise. Like, I can like a good filler arc if it's done well. If you can't tell, I don't think any of the Yu-Gi-Oh ones were done well, so fuck it, we're done with them. Let's get back to good Yu-Gi-Oh, aka just adapting the manga. In the next episode, which, by the way, is episode 199, and I'm directly going to lead into episode 200, yes, we've reached episode 200 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Which I guess I'll mention it now, the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the longest Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, by far. That's one of the main reasons why I've made so many videos about it, just because there's so much to cover. And we're not even done. So in 199, we see a flashback of Granddad being the one to find the Millennium Puzzle, even though it was supposed to have been some jobbers that found it that died. Anyway, it turns out Yugi and the gang are about to head to Egypt to finally help the pharaoh remember his past, by bringing the god cards and all the Millennium items they have to that stone tablet Shizu had. But then, Rex and Weevil show up again to break into Yugi's house, trying to steal the god cards again. Don't worry, this is the last time these two show up. They take Yugi's bag that he packed, and they don't realize that the god cards are in a box. They just think they stole some junk. But one person wants his junk back. Evil Bakura. Yep, he's still here, taking back his Millennium Ring, but doesn't run off with the god cards or the other Millennium items. In fact, he encourages Yugi to seek out the pharaoh's past. Huh, well, that's not suspicious. But Bakura needs another player, Kaiba, and after using Mokuba as bait for the 50th time this week, he ropes him into a duel.
I'll begin my turn by activating the magic card Pot of Greed. That allows me to draw 2 more cards from my deck.
And he actually gets Kaiba to start seriously considering all this ancient Egyptian magic crap that he doesn't believe in, and that, wait a minute, all that stuff might be real. Also gets him to wonder, wait, why does he have such an affinity towards his blue eyes? It's a children's trading card. So Bakura leaves, telling Kaiba if he wants answers to take this Millennium Eye and head to Egypt. Because that's where the cheerleaders are right now, and they meet up again with the Ishtars. They're back, of course, to help the pharaoh, where they tell him all will be revealed once Yugi holds up the god cards to the stone tablet. Which he does, and suddenly the pharaoh is back in time? What? And coincidentally, a lot of these people from the past resemble people the pharaoh knows in the present, including someone that looks like Kaiba, Ashizu, Granddad. I'm not going to say their actual names because I think that would be confusing, considering this arc has a lot of characters. And more or less, they are the same character, just brown-washed, and Kaiba is the only one that matters, and they just call him by his first name, Seto. Also, all these characters have a Millennium item of their own. Specifically, past Ashizu has the necklace, and Seto has the rod. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of fangirls that want Seto's rod. Unfortunately for Pharaoh, Bakura is also here, because if you remember, way back before the start of the Battle City arc, Bakura put a little piece of his soul in the Millennium Puzzle, and I guess the force of the gods is strong enough to pull his whole soul out of Bakura and into the past world? It's magic, you don't have to explain it. Where we see that in this time, Bakura was a slave who frees himself and then sets off to make the pharaoh's life hell. Sensing something wrong is the return of the real Slim Shotty. He's back to tell the cheerleaders that, Yugi, you gotta go in there, the pharaoh needs your help. And to get to the past, they have to find a door in the Millennium Puzzle to get to him. Meanwhile, Bakura's words have started to get to Kaiba as he starts considering going to Egypt with the Millennium Eye, especially when he realizes Yugi is probably there too. Back in time, Bakura breaks into the pharaoh's throne room, unleashing a special monster he found, called Diabound. This is when we see ancient duels with no cards. Instead, they use ancient tablets and ancient duel discs. Yes. Seriously. Isn't this anime great? But yes, these ancient duel discs allow them to essentially duel, summoning monsters and let them cast spells and such. It's not like the card game where there's actual rules and, attack points, defense points, and all that. It's just kind of like, oh, my monster's stronger than yours, but then I play this card that makes it better, or I do this thing. It's kind of like playground Yu-Gi-Oh, where you just kind of throw a card down, you make shit up, stuff happens, everyone goes home salty. During this playground duel, Bakura says some interesting stuff, including the last king created the Millennium items, apparently, and that they hold a dark secret, and if the pharaoh wants to know what's up, he should visit the village of Kal Elna. He then decides to trash the place because no one can stop this new Diabound monster. That's when the pharaoh summons an Egyptian god to force Bakura to retreat. While the pharaoh gets his kingly duties in order, Seto and his teacher Akhenaten discuss what to do if Bakura returns, cause he kinda stomped them. Well, it turns out the Millennium items create dual monsters by extracting the darkness in people's hearts. So Seto's got a plan. If we can find someone even more fucked up than Bakura, we can control a monster with way more power than he could imagine. Well, that's a plan, I guess. The pharaoh, meanwhile, talks with his loyal magician friend Mahad, and we meet Mana, the pharaoh's childhood friend. And yes, they do look very familiar. If you haven't put 2 and 2 together, Mahad is a very powerful magician, and Mana is his apprentice. Mahad then heads out, saying he's going to add some seal to the last pharaoh's tomb, but he's actually heading to the magician's training ground to unleash a seal that will grant him ultimate power so he can fight Bakura. Who's right behind him? Because yep, he followed Mahad. Why? Well, Mahad is the user of the Millennium Necklace, which we know Bakura is quite fond of. And look, here's my only complaint about this arc. Because I think the writing and everything, that's good, we're going to get more into it. Because since it's from the manga, it is interesting seeing the past of the pharaoh and learning the origins of a lot of these things in the series, finally getting answers for all the stuff it's set up. But the one thing I don't like about this season is it lacks that thing, Yu-Gi-Oh has. It's in the subtitle. Yeah, the last arc of this Duel Monsters anime kind of lacks duel monsters. Yeah, we have the ancient duels, but these are not easy to follow, because I don't know the power levels of anything. Like here, Mahad is fighting Diabound, and yeah, we know Diabound is tough, but how strong? There's no power level to help me quantify how strong he is. How many inches? Like, the characters say these monsters are strong, but me, the viewer, I have nothing on screen to show me how strong these things are. Well, apparently Diabound is so strong that Mahad has to use his ancient Egyptian friendship magic to turn himself into the Dark Magician, becoming the Pharaoh's faithful duel monster, crushing the Pharaoh in mana, because he's technically dead, but he lives on here. In the titty. But I'm not sad about it, because I'm watching this and I'm like, did he even really need to do that? Because I don't know how strong this thing was. Do you mean give me some sort of equivalent to attack points or something to flash on screen to give me an idea of what's going on? You're especially going to be saying, why didn't they do that when you find out how this arc is even happening, but that's spoilers for later. Because right now, during these duels, it's like watching two action figures crashing into each other. It's fun for a second until you start thinking about it. So yeah, Mahad lost and is now cursed to be printed into several different card arts throughout all of eternity. And Bakura now has the Millennium Ring, so he's even more powerful. Well, on one hand, the good guys lost a Millennium item, one of the most powerful items on Earth. On the other hand, Bakura is dead, at least they think so. So just in case Bakura is around, which he's right he is, Seto goes around soul-snatching criminals to make more duel monsters. Meanwhile, the cheerleaders successfully make it to Egypt and try to find the pharaoh, but they see a girl with white hair being stoned. Wow, that's kind of dark for 4 kids, I'm kind of shocked they left it in. Joey and Tristan try to step in, but realize that they are all ghosts. Ooh, spooky. As no one can see or hear them, and every object passes through them. That's when Seto arrives, and past Shoddy uses his Millennium Key to see that the girl has a white dragon inside. Seto takes her back to the palace, seeing the potential in her. That's when they meet Bobasa, a possibly culturally insensitive spirit. Like them, but he can touch stuff for some reason. Seto heads back to the palace, and Akhenaten tells him, hey, you need to stop going around town and capturing criminals. It's adding more darkness or whatever to the world, and it's strengthening Bakura. Seto says, pfft, Akhenaten, chill. You're not my dad, especially not by some cruel twist of fate. Besides, ends justify the means, so don't worry about it. Then Seto goes to meet the girl he saved and realizes he's seen her before. When he was a kid, he freed her from some slave traders, and the slavers were not happy about that, so they decided to go to Seto's village and destroy it. That sucks. But then a white dragon came out of nowhere and killed all the bad guys. That sucks. Or wait, no, that's good, right? That's a good thing? And Seto realizes that this is the same girl that he freed. Yes, she's an anime waifu and a dragon. 'Cause anime. Anyways, back to Akhenaten. Seto's definitely not dead. Oh, Bakura's here, and he can now travel undetected thanks to his new powers, and is about to kill Akhenaten. Oh. Because he says Akhenaten played a big part in what happened at that village he mentioned before, Kal Elna, and that what he did forced Akhenaten to abandon his son, Seto. I should explain why that's a big reveal. Akhenaten is the brother of the last pharaoh, which is current pharaoh's dad. So yeah, he's the pharaoh's uncle, making Seto and the pharaoh cousins. Which, keep in mind, means if something happens to the pharaoh, guess who's next in line? Just keep that up here. So Bakura tries to take the Millennium Eye, and he doesn't. I don't know, maybe he got bored and left. Well, while Akhenaten is recovering, we, the viewer, peer into his mind and see the past. The previous pharaoh, Akhenaten, rules, and he's doing a bad job as some enemies, I guess from another country they don't specify, is about to invade them, and I assume that's not a good thing. Luckily, his brother, a young Akhenaten, has translated a spell from their Millennium Spellbook. It's a spell called Alchemy of the Dark. That sounds lovely. It can create 7 mystical items of great power. Akhenaten tells Akhenaten, yeah, maybe do that so we can use them in this war so we don't all die, that'd be great. But Akhenaten isn't telling the whole story. He's about to do something pretty bad. So bad that he disowns his own son and tells his wife to take him far away and tell him his father died. Then he casts a spell that makes all the soldiers following him to forget this day's events. Huh, why is he doing all that? What can be so bad? Well, to create Millennium items of great power, you gotta make a few sacrifices, you know? You gotta crack a few eggs before you make a chicken, you know what I mean? And by crack a few eggs, I mean make a bunch of human sacrifices to create Millennium items. Like a village worth of human sacrifices. Hey, luckily there's one of those villages called Kal Elna, right over there. I'm sure they'll be happy to die for their king. Well, you know, it's a 4Kids dub, so they just say that their souls are being used. That's the same as dying. I don't know why they don't just say that. So after following the recipe, the Millennium items are born. And also a great ancient evil hellbent on destroying all life. Hey, science isn't perfect. Luckily, it can only leave its dimension by placing all the Millennium items in the stone tablet created with them. Luckily, no one would be evil enough to do that. So yeah, the Millennium items are made from people. Neat. Akhenaten wakes back up in the present and seems to be a little gung-ho about something, saying he's going to make sure Seto becomes king. Meanwhile, Bakura has been found out, and him and the pharaoh fight. And they fight some more. And they fight some more. Wish I could tell who was stronger in this instance. Until he's a bit overwhelmed by Diabound. That's when the cheerleaders find him. And surprisingly, he's the only one that can see and hear them. That's when, thanks to the power of friendship, they help power up the pharaoh's Ra. And they do it. They beat Diabound and Bakura. No, seriously, they beat him. They win. That actually happens.
I take it you just won, right?
Yes, Egypt is now safe, but none of it would have been possible without you.
Huh, who knew all you needed was the power of friendship? Well, it's Yu-Gi-Oh, so I guess everyone did. But yeah, that's it. The arc's over. They beat Bakura. They won. They saved the day. Meanwhile, Bakura has been found out, and him and the pharaoh fight. And they fight some more. And they fight some more. Wish I could tell who was stronger in this instance. Until he's a bit overwhelmed by Diabound. That's when Bakura takes the opportunity to take the puzzle and kill him. Wait, what just happened? The cheerleaders arrive and are actually smart about it, saying the pharaoh can't actually be dead if they're in his memories. Meanwhile, since there's no king currently, Akhenaten's got a plan that Seto discovers. Akhenaten is forcing all the captured monsters to fight each other so they can evolve like Pokemon, and he can raise an all-powerful army for Seto to control, including the white-haired girl. Seto says, okay man, I'm crazy but you're evil. I'm gonna stop this right now. And that gets the girl, who finally says her name is Kisara, to transform into that dragon with eyes of blue. Seto then leaves Akhenaten, stating the pharaoh deserves to be king and he's still alive out there. Speaking of still alive, Bakura, who's back at Kal Elna, who's putting the Millennium items he has in the tablet to summon the Great Evil. Spoilers, that Great Evil is Zorc. Yeah, Zorc, you remember him from the tabletop game back in Season 0? He's back. And we're still taking that name seriously, huh? And I hope you've also figured it out by this point, but yes, Bakura is a survivor of the Kal Elna massacre, and that's why he hates the pharaoh and the Millennium items. Speaking of, Zorc tells him the Millennium items aren't enough anymore, because he's still sealed by whatever the pharaoh sealed him away with 3,000 years ago, before he was sealed in the Millennium Puzzle. And this is a problem, because the only one who knows what sealed Zorc is the pharaoh, and he erases memories. But Bakura realizes it must be the one thing the pharaoh hasn't remembered yet, his name. That must be the key to release Zorc. And we still need to find him too, which is what the cheerleaders are doing, and manage to find Mana, who can also see and hear them weirdly, and mistakes Yugi for the pharaoh, asking why he's all short and a bitch. The real pharaoh is lying half dead in a cave, and oh yeah, Bakura, because he hates the throne, you know, tried to mindfuck the pharaoh by telling him about Kal Elna and telling him that his dad knew about it this whole time, and that his dad is pure evil and all that. We do see in a flashback that the pharaoh has that he did find out eventually, and he confessed his sins to the gods or whatever. And the pharaoh comes to the conclusion that his dad didn't do that because he felt guilty, because he was taking responsibility as king. Yeah, he was a good dad. He wouldn't sacrifice a village. His brother, though. That's when randomly a mystical godlike being named Hassan shows up, saying, hey bro, don't worry about the next fight. I got you. And the cheerleaders find him. Oh, that was random. Back in the present, Kaiba finally arrives in Egypt and runs into the Ishtars. Shizu does not seem happy to see Kaiba, considering, you know. But they all take interest when Kaiba shows the Millennium Eye and mentions Bakura. That's when Merrick realizes, oh yeah, Bakura, I forgot to mention that, yeah, I teamed up with him back in Battle City, and he also seemed to know a lot about the Millennium items. Like, way more than us, the people whose lives are dedicated to guarding them. Almost like he was there. Oh shit. Coming to this realization, they tell Kaiba to go to the tablet where Yugi and the others are. He agrees, because he just wants to get this ancient Egyptian nonsense over with. Back in Pastland, the Pharaoh's back, and it's time to end this. As the King's Court find out Bakura is hiding out in Kal Elna, which was pretty obvious. I don't know why I didn't think that sooner. So the Pharaoh and all the remaining fuck. I don't know why. I'm having a really hard time whenever I try to say Millennium Item. I really have to enunciate it. So the Pharaoh and all the remaining Millennium Item users and Mana head there to face him, while the cheerleaders are left behind because they're kinda useless when facing a dark evil and it doesn't involve a children's card game. So it's time for the final battle, and the Egyptians don't do too hot. But luckily, Mana awakens to her magical Duel Monster's abilities, and becomes the fuel used to aid many young boys' puberties. Also, Mahad arrives as Dark Magician to protect the Pharaoh. Seeing this, Bakura tries to mind manipulate the Pharaoh again by saying, well, your kingdom still murdered an entire village, so feel guilty about that. But then probably the biggest bullshit pulling out of your ass moment in the whole series, at least to me. It turns out Mahad researched and discovered the entire village of Kal Elna was evil. Yes, every single person in this one village, including the newborns and children like Bakura, were evil from the beginning. They came out the balls like that.
What Bakura has failed to mention is that every citizen of his village was evil.
But how do you know that?
I always sense the darkness within my Millennium Ring.
So yeah, Bakura isn't like this because he's consumed by revenge due to everyone he knows and loves being murdered in front of him. He was born like it. This is just the biggest kid show BS I've ever heard in my life, because they can't imply that anyone who is an actual good main character might have done something bad. But whatever, who cares, children's anime. Anyway, most of the Egyptian jobbers try to fight Bakura's Diabound and just can't kill it, because the dark energy from the spirits of Kal Elna are practically making it invincible and keep it powered up. Outside though, Past Shoddy and Akhenaten find Diabound's tablet, which they believe destroying it will kill Diabound. But Akhenaten is still a little bit evil, and he basically kills Not Shoddy, taking his Millennium Key. Meanwhile, the cheerleaders, yeah look, sorry, if you can't tell, there's a lot of plot happening, and when there's no card games going on, this is probably going to be one of my longer videos because of that, and sometimes I forget stuff, and there's a lot of things going on in between. It's basically Game of Thrones levels of things happening in multiple locations right now, okay? I'm trying my best here. I'm saying that because I realized I forgot to mention as well that way back when, Bakura possessed Tristan, and so Bakura Tristan nudges the cheerleaders in the direction of trying to figure out the pharaoh's name. Back at the fight, it seems like Bakura will win, but this time, friendship doesn't save the day. Nope, it's nepotism, as the pharaoh's dad appears and banishes the evil spirits of Kal Elna to the Shadow Realm, weakening Diabound, finally allowing Dark Magician to kill it for good. Bakura seems defeated, but then something weird happens. A light envelops Bakura, and he says that body was his pawn. Huh? Then somehow Akhenaten uses Zawarudo and freezes time, taking everyone's Millennium items and starts putting them in the stone tablet. The pharaoh, like me watching it and no doubt you watching this, is extremely confused about everything that's happening. They beat Bakura, but somehow he's still alive, and how is Akhenaten freezing time? It's almost like a power in a game. Wait. Game. Oh shit. That's right, in a kinda cool twist, we weren't living the pharaoh's memories, but instead a shadow game between him and Bakura based on those memories. Which explains how Bakura was able to do certain things, like rewind time, heal himself, and pretty much teleport around, it seemed. Because he's got special hourglass tokens that allow him to manipulate time. This has freezed every character he can't control, except for Bobassa for some reason. He can move. Weird. Well, whatever. And Bakura is about to win the game because he doesn't need the pharaoh's name anymore, as his last hourglass token, when the sands run out, it will automatically summon Zorc to his field. Like, we really can't change his name to anything else. Does it sound cooler in Japanese? No, it really doesn't. Back in the game, Akhenaten reveals all that backstory I told you about the Millennium items, for some reason, as he's about to kill the pharaoh. Or his character, I should say. But Yami, realizing this is a game, plays a character he got a while ago. Hassan. Yep, that was a character he got, that's why he showed up out of nowhere. He comes in, saves the day, and destroys Bakura's time-freezing hourglass. The game is indeed afoot. In the game, Akhenaten starts tempting Seto by saying it's his destiny with the White Dragon to rule over everything, and Seto's starting to be like, you know what? I'm liking what you're selling. Sensing he's going over to the dark side, Kisara takes off to go help her husbando. Meanwhile, the cheerleaders aren't making progress, they're being kinda useless, and Bobassa is complaining that he's hungry, so they decide to feed him. Bakura Tristan thinks this is a waste of time, until Bobassa is full, and using his powers, takes them all to the tomb, the same tomb where Granddad found the Millennium Puzzle. That's when Bakura realizes Bobassa is a part of the game. He's actually a mechanic, he's not a character. A mechanic to help you find out the pharaoh's name. Speaking of games, Bakura has another trick up his sleeve. See, everyone in this game has health, and using someone else's life energy can heal another. Yugi kinda did it earlier before he rewind time. And while most of everyone is nearly depleted, there is a fresh, healthy body available, Kaiba, who yes, is now at the tablet and gets pulled into the game by Bakura, and Bakura somehow uses his life juice to resurrect himself in the game. I don't know how that works, it's magic, you don't have to explain it. And Bakura starts fucking shit up, because he's got pretty much every Millennium item now, and he's stronger than ever, and Akhenaten takes Seto away so he can go corrupt him. Meanwhile, Kaiba arrives in the game, and even he's like, okay, yeah, this is real, magic exists, what the fuck is happening? And he runs into Kisara, who's actually able to see him, and he recognizes her from the visions he saw back during Battle City. Meanwhile, the Guardians are getting absolutely shreked, now that Bakura is at full power. And after some more deaths, the Pharaoh character has had enough and tells Hassan to stay behind to protect everyone while he goes off to face Bakura. He finds Seto, who just tried to resist Akhenaten's temptations, saying he doesn't care about being pharaoh. As far as he's concerned, his father died years ago. But Akhenaten is too powerful now and manages to seal the blue eyes in a tablet, making it a duel monster, and possesses Seto. Kaiba is witnessing all this, by the way. The pharaoh and Seto fight, but thanks to friendship, Kisara manages to break Akhenaten's magic and free Seto, but she dies in the process. R.I.P. Meanwhile, on the game board, Yami realizes that Bakura is after his true name, because that's the one thing nobody knows, and it must be the key to beating Zorc and pals.
You said it yourself, Bakura. This is a game, and every challenge in a game has a solution. Now, need I remind you, you're playing with the king of games.
Sorry. I think I got pregnant from how hard that line was. When it comes to finding names, the cheerleaders are on the case, entering the tomb and dodging all the traps, and even manage to find a hidden passageway where they find some words in Egyptian, so none of them can read it. Except Tristan, who translates it, saying, "He who solves the Millennium Puzzle must return the wish he was granted. Only then the door shall be opened." And before the cheerleaders can ask, Tristan, how do you know how to read Egyptian? The floor crumbles and a door opens near Yugi, making it clear his wish was for friends, and he has to leave a balance beam to get the pharaoh's name by sacrificing them in the process. Bakura Tristan is like, that's all, and jumps off. That's when Taya, Joey, and Yugi use luck and kind of a plan to jump off but hang onto the ledge, saving themselves. But Tristan is dead for like the third time, I want to say. The remaining cheerleaders find a cartouche with Egyptian they can't read, but memorize the symbols so they can go tell the pharaoh his real name. That's when they see Tristan again. Hey, he's alright. Oh shit, it was Bakura all along. Wait, why am I acting surprised? I knew that. Because now he's got no reason to hide, since his summoning hourglass has run out of sands. That's right. It's Zorkin time. However, he wants to make sure his victory is definitive, and there's just one thing stopping him, and that's to get rid of the only people who know the pharaoh's name. There's only one way to do that. That's right, it's been way too long. But finally, once again, it's time to duel. That's right, we finally have a duel. Say it, you beautiful bastards.
I'll start by activating the magic card Pot of Greed, which lets me draw 2 more cards from my deck.
Oh yeah, that's the stuff. Too bad I have nothing to actually say about the duel. Yeah, there's no real cool card strategies or anything, it's one with made up anime cards. But it's good to see a duel again after so long. Bakura does use a mill strategy, which was cool to see, you don't get that often. But you know, Heart of the Cards, Gandora, we've seen this before. Then there's the actual fight against Zorc, which, yep, sorry, I also don't care about it. All these guys are from the past, I don't care about the Shadow Game magic, I don't care about any of these people, all of them die anyway. Not Granddad uses Exodia. That was cool. The real threat is that the stuff they're doing in the past that's also an RPG game is affecting the future, cause magic. So if the pharaoh loses here, the world is screwed. Also, Bakura put their souls into the game, so yeah, they die in the game, they die for real. But Zorc is beating everything they throw at him. Exodia, the God cards, Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, nothing's working. Until the cheerleaders, after beating Bakura, use friendship to tell the pharaoh his name. No, seriously, they just believe hard enough, and the pharaoh is like, oh, I remember my name.
I bet if we think about those symbols hard enough, we can make the pharaoh's name appear on that cartouche.
And then he says his name out loud. I mean, I've said it several times during this video series. You haven't been paying attention, have you? I'm on your second monitor, aren't I? I'm just second monitor content to you.
My ancient name has been revealed. I am King Atem!
And it summons an angel from Shin Megami Tensei, who finally destroys evil Bakura. For real this time, like, I mean it. He's not coming back, he's actually defeated, for real. He is gone. Like, I'm not even gonna get you, he's dead. He's gone. Get him out of here. And so the day, for the last time, is saved. Everyone's back in the present, Bakura is finally back to normal and has control of his own body, and Atem now knows all about his past. However, there's one last thing they gotta do. Now with Zorc gone for good, all the Millennium items have to be laid to rest, so no one can abuse their powers. Including the puzzle. Yugi and pals will have to say goodbye to Atem. But there's a twist. For Atem to pass on properly, he has to be defeated, essentially passing on his legacy to the next generation. So Yugi has to face Atem in a duel, and beat him to lay him to rest. So it's time for one last duel. Obviously everyone is sad Atem has to leave, especially after finally getting to know him. Taya of course is the most sad, because she's the girl, of course. However, everyone is excited to see the battle between the King of Games and Yugi, including the Ishtars, the cheerleaders, Duke and Granddad show up, even the Kaiba boys come along. All of Yugi's friends and important characters from the series. Every single one. Not a single one is missing from this lineup. Kaiba especially wants to see this because he wants to find out if Yugi really is a good duelist or if the pharaoh was the real brains behind the operation. So they go to the final resting place and Yugi now faces his shadow.
Are you ready for this?
That's what we're here to find out, right? Let's duel!
And it's not looking good for Yugi as Atem manages to run circles around him, summoning all 3 Egyptian god cards at once.
But I'm not done yet. Next I play Pot of Greed. This allows me to take 2 cards from my deck and add them to my hand.
Even Kaiba gets bored, saying Yugi's a hack without the puzzle. But he stays when Yugi confidently says he has a way to defeat all 3 gods.
Egyptian gods may be strong, but they're not undefeatable, and I'm gonna take them down one by one. You're nuts!
Which he does by using the cards around his magnet warriors. Even Kaiba's gotta respect it.
No way!
I guess Yugi really did have a plan after all.
By trusting your instincts, you were able to accomplish the seemingly impossible. You destroyed the most powerful creatures in Duel Monsters. But remember, that doesn't mean that you've won the game.
Now again, I know this is the last duel in the whole anime, but I'm not gonna go turn by turn, man. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and describe a Yu-Gi-Oh game to you. We're not even in the crazy part of Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm not even trying to get into that. Like, I'm gonna let you know now, I don't know how pendulums work, and I'm really scared to find out how they do. Yugi does become triumphant in this duel, using his gold sarcophagus card to negate the Pharaoh's comeback card of Monster Reborn. And Yugi does it with a strategy perfectly crafted to beat the Pharaoh and predicting his moves. He beats Atem. All he has to do is attack him directly to win. But he can't do it. Or maybe he doesn't want to. But with words of encouragement from Atem, two realizes with their journey, they will always be together. There's always going to be a piece of Atem with Yugi and a piece of Yugi with Atem. Thanks to their journey, they've influenced each other in more ways than they know. So Yugi attacks, defeating Atem, sending him to the afterlife, as everyone wishes him a tearful goodbye.
But I know that true friends may be hard to leave, but they're impossible to forget. And even though his stay wasn't as long as we would have liked, we're lucky we knew him at all. Like we always say, it's your move!
Yo, no time for that. The tomb begins to crumble in. Oh, everybody out. And the Millennium items fall into a chasm. With everyone making it out, it looks like all the dueling and shadow games are finally behind the gang. And they can go back to playing children's card games at sweaty, smelly LGSs with neckbeards. In hindsight, the shadow games sound way better.
So this is the end? Feels weird.
At least make one of your little wrap-up speeches, Yug. Well, sometimes the end of one adventure is just the beginning of another. Much better.
And I think we all know what happened after this anime ended, right? Yu-Gi-Oh! Was too popular of a card game for it to just die out. It was so successful, it got many a sequel and spin-off. And like I said, this was the longest Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, over 200 episodes. Don't worry though, the other shows are not as long, so we won't be spending as much time with them. But yeah, nothing more to say. Yu-Gi-Oh! Original, it was great, I liked it. So without further ado, finally, we are going to move on to the next generation of Yu-Gi-Oh! With Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Hey, you're not done with Yu-Gi-Oh! Yet. It's more Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah, yes it is. It's over. We just saw the ending. The credits rolled. It's done. It's over. Yu-Gi-Oh's done. Don't you remember the Capsule Monsters anime? Not at all. Oh. Where's a shitty movie too, so you have to watch that. Fuck.